so much for tuning in. So I'm a little bit new to this, so bear with me. If you see me looking down, I'll be looking at my notes, or I might just edit it to make it a bit more seamless. But anyway, today, let's get into it. We're going to be talking about Tamar Braxton, Get Your Life, episode 2. Now, I didn't do episode 1, but episode 2 triggered me enough to get on camera. So I'm hoping to have some dialogue with some people because I need someone to talk about this with, okay? So the episode starts off with Mona coming to visit at her house, getting mic'd up and all that. Tamar takes her on a tour around the house. And I don't know about you, but I have this thing about having people walk around in my crib with their shoes on. That shit drives me crazy. But I see Tamar has hella people in her house. She even has white carpet and has people walking up and down. Like, I can't, like, that is a huge pet peeve of mine. But she don't seem to care. So, not my house. Cool. So, Tamar says she wants to get engaged. And Mona asks her, you don't want to get married? And she's like, nah. And Mona looks confused as hell. But her whole thing is being engaged sounds a lot better than being a girlfriend. However, being a wife then puts you back to square one, which sounds like, in her marriage with Vince, she seemed to feel somewhat claustrophobic, and I guess she doesn't want to go back to that situation. She likes being in control of her own life right now and how that's all set up. So Mona asked well, they start talking about her relationship with Vince, and she says, they respect each other as Logan's parents. She wants to make sure Logan has a good experience with the both of them, and then also as they've been married for 16 years. So she wants to keep their relationship cool, which is great. Mona also asked her how Vince's relationship is with David, and at this point they don't have a relationship. And she says it's a hard place to be, and she understands how the situation must feel for Vince when you have someone else basically taking your place in the home, and your kid loves that person. That has to be hard to deal with. But for her, she wants to stay out of it. She don't want to partially let the man handle that, which is crazy to me. I'm assuming the next day at 9:45 in the morning, Jay White, the producer, comes back to the house. He's ready to make some music with Tamar finally. It's his last day in town. He's clearly excited to get some stuff recorded. Otherwise, everything's been a waste of time. Tamar's messing around in her closet. Then she offers to cook for people. And someone says, don't you have to go and record? And she's like, they ain't even thinking about me, child. They just think about getting their vibe together, which sounds to me like an excuse. 12:30 comes around. Tamar starts cooking a whole meal. Goli's watching her avoid making music. Jay White's downstairs calling her as pleasant as he could possibly be. Still no Tamar. Tamar starts talking to her glam team about her relationship with Vince, and they're like, does he still come around and whatnot? It's like, yeah, he comes to drop my baby off and goes about his business. So yeah, you might see him like, we're cool, everything's cool. And then she says that she models her relationship after white folk. She doesn't want to do what we do. And white people don't have issues. Oh, Lord. White people don't have issues when it comes to co-parenting. And that is one of the most ignorant statements I've heard from black people in a while. No, I shouldn't even say in a while, because I hear ignorant shit like that all the time. Very frustrating for me. Now, I don't have any children, but I don't see how white people and their separations are much better than black people. Like, they don't act as crazy and as ratchet as anybody else. So when black people make statements like that, it's like, so to listen to Tamar make a blatantly ignorant statement like that was really annoying for me, because white people go through just as much as black people when it comes to having messy divorces, messy child rearing situations. Like, it can be a complete mess. It has nothing to do with race. That shit pisses me off. Okay, now it's 7:30, right? They finally eat and they go downstairs and begin the music making process. But here comes another distraction, Logan and Vince. Now, Vince cannot be on camera because David has said that if Vince is on camera, he will not be. Then in his confessionals, he explains that he feels like his girlfriend's ex shouldn't be in his house without his permission. So some messy producer says, oh, whose house are we at? And he's like, oh, my house. Well, you know, Tamar spends 4 days a week at my house and I spend 3 at hers. My clothes are here, it's my house. I'm just like, I hope he pays bills for it to be his house. Like, I'm hoping he pays some bills. Because the disrespect, he makes himself sound like he's all about Tamar, but it's clearly about him. He's very controlling and very manipulative. I really don't like this guy. But let's continue. Okay, Tamar puts Lil Man in the room. This point is 8:40. Then she doesn't want to sing in front of everybody that's in the room, so they all have to leave the room because she's too shy. I'm not understanding this Tamar that makes up songs on the spot, who's sung and performed on stage in front of millions of people, and all of a sudden she's shy every second. It's not making much sense to me. And so they decide to do a shot to make her more comfortable, which also confused me because I thought one of the rules of working with Goli was that she didn't drink anything for 45 days as well as sex and whatnot. So that was weird. But she does her shots. The girl sings 2 lines in her Toni Braxton voice and then decides that she needs to put Logan to bed, say a prayer with him. So she goes back there, tells Logan to get her his chocolate from school or whatever so she can sell it to the people because they all got money. So she brings Logan back out. He starts selling his chocolate, which is really cute, but also another distraction. It's like, come on, this is this man's last day. Let's get some work done. And to me, it's just like, it's not blatantly disrespectful, but it's disrespectful. It's like nice, nasty disrespectful. Like, come on, like, this guy's here, he's putting in the work, he wants to work with you, he's excited about it, and you're just doing every piece of bullshit you can to procrastinate. And it's something that I don't understand. I don't get it. Kassan, the choreographer, comes over to talk to Tamar about reimagining her stage show. But she's like extremely distracted. She keeps texting back and forth. It's very much a struggle for her to stay present with Kassan. And suddenly she just gets up, ends the meeting, and runs downstairs. And nobody knows what's going on. The cameras try to follow her downstairs, but she locks the bedroom door before anyone could get in and see what was going on. You can hear her in the background saying, I'm looking for David. So then you hear her trying to stop David from leaving, and David runs out of the house with his bag. And we find out that he leaves because he finds out that Vince had put Logan to bed, and he doesn't like Vince being in his house without his permission, without his knowledge, and apparently it's happened before. And it bothers me that this man is making a huge deal about Vince putting his child to bed. Like, it just feels so, it's icky. I find it really icky and disgusting. So I guess it's the next day. Tamar's headed to spin class with her glam squad, her gay crew, or whatnot. And at this point, I guess it's been 10 hours since she has spoken to David. And she wants to do a drive-by, see what's going on at the crib. And then they were like, nah, let him miss you, or you're supposed to show up in a trench coat with nothing on underneath it, which I don't think she should do that for this motherfucker. But yeah, so she decides to let it go. They go to the class, and she starts getting texts from Vince. Now, I think this is the magic of editing, because later on we find out it's been 24 hours since they speak, so it was very confusing. But yeah, so she gets messages from David. He wants to meet up, and so she goes to meet him at a restaurant. So they meet at this restaurant. Tamar tells David how much she's missed him. He says he misses her and whatnot. But she says that, you know, it's been 24 hours since they spoke, and it seems really immature that, you know, two people in a relationship would go that long without speaking to each other. And he says that, you know, he really needs some time to think things through. You know, he reiterates that he thinks it's disrespectful that Vince comes to the house, and she's like, but he's not doing anything there but putting his child to bed. And he's like, you know, puts him to bed, and then what? Like he's wandering around the house doing inappropriate things while he's not there. And, you know, he says to Tamar, you know, this has happened before. So apparently a year before, Tamar and David went on a vacation, and then he found out that Vince had been staying in the house with Logan. So I don't know why Vince would need to stay in her house. Like, he doesn't have his own home, or maybe he doesn't live in LA anymore. Because earlier on she had said that he had to get on a flight somewhere. So, you know, he's still in the music industry and whatnot, but God knows where he's at and where he lives and whatnot. But yeah, so I do think it's weird in the sense that he had to stay in there, in her house, not their house, her house. And but it's just so strange to me. It's like, it's almost like he thinks that Tamar was in the bed with Vince or something when Tamar was on vacation with him. So I'm not fully getting what the whole issue is, apart from the fact that he wants control over Tamar and the things that she does, which is the problem with her letting them do what they want to do. Because this man who wasn't married to her, doesn't have any rights with her children, acts like he's in control of everything. So I can get, it's a weird place when you're coming into a family that's already made, but you don't run shit here. You're the newbie. So, you know, move accordingly. Tamar tells David that, you know, she wasn't deliberately trying to disrespect him, but she's clearly in a difficult place and she doesn't want to police their relationship. She really wants the two of them to figure it out. She said that she was more upset for Logan than she was for herself, which then makes us know that Logan was in the room when they had their disagreement, which to me is just terrible. Like, I can't believe the child witnessed that. Apparently, even though David wasn't speaking to Tamar, he called Logan, and Logan said that he thought that David wasn't coming back. And that was a shock to Tamar. I guess they both felt that. And she was like, oh, I guess you're not going to do that again, are you? So that is really sad. Those are things that are traumatic to a child. Like, he clearly has a good relationship with Logan. And these are things you have to think about when you're having a relationship with somebody new. And like, think about this child. Like, I can't believe you behave that way in front of a child. This says to me how manipulative this guy is. So, you know, David asks her what else is going on. She talks about Goli and how she's really enjoying the dreamwork, and asks David if he'd ever be willing to do it. So David starts on his I'm a real African man shit. Oh my God. And there's certain things that African men don't do and they don't tolerate. And she's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, there's certain types of energy in the world, and some are very powerful, and he's not sure what this dream work is, right? So Tamar says to him, everything you don't understand is not the devil. And that's the problem with church folks. And that's my problem with church folks. And to me, he's an idiot on top of that. Because it's like, people claim that they're such Christians and ain't read no Bible. Because if you've read the Bible, there is dream interpretations in there. And on top of that, like, if you're so pressed about what she's doing and what you're doing and how much of a Christian you are, why are you even having sex with her? You're not married, sir. Sir, you're not married. So which one is it? The hypocritical BS for me is where it's too much. Like, Anyway, let me keep moving. He claims he takes his spiritual guidance from the Bible, which he clearly doesn't read. And Tamar says to him, everything is not witchcraft. And it isn't. I really do want to go off, but I'm going to just hold it. Let's see how this thing continues. He's talking about things coming from a source. And to me, this man clearly watched too much of that show Charmed, because that's the only source that I know of. Tamar's explaining it's like you write a note to yourself, believing you have the answers and you can manifest them. And he's like, okay, this sounds, I'm not convinced, but I would like to talk to her and ask her some questions. So she's like, cool. But first, Vince. So later, Tamar sits down with Goli to discuss the dream work. At this point, they are at David's home. So in Tamar's dream, she remembers feeling insecure. There was these two women there she didn't know. Also, Trina was there and David's niece was there. So she felt like David was seeing one of these women. And the niece said to her, just tell her. And it turns out that he was seeing Ellen, meaning Ellen DeGeneres. And the symbol of Ellen is like, for Tamar, like the biggest talk show host. And she asked her Goli what that means, and Goli says that means in family secrets. And that another family betrayal with the powers that be. But then there's also that she has allies in her family as well as David's family. And I'm like, this dream thing is like, I would love to, I don't know how much this woman costs, but I would love to work with Goli with some dreams. Like, I think this is phenomenal. Like, it's amazing that she's able to do this and help people in this area. It's something I would love to learn to do. So yet again, they are interrupted by Logan. And Tamar takes him to the bedroom. He talking about how he wants to eat and whatnot. She comes back to Goli. Goli talks about how they're doing a lot of internal work and it'd be great to put some physicality towards it. And she mentioned going to a break room. So a break room is a place where you would go and just break things. It's an amazing release. But this sets Tamar off and says she doesn't want to look like an angry black woman. They're trying to make her look like an angry black woman, and she leaves. The producers explain that they need something physical for the audience to understand more of the process as it goes along, but she's adamant that they're trying to make her look like an angry black woman. This then upsets Michael, the white producer, because he then feels like he's been made to look like he's making black women look bad. So he gets Tamar and is like, please, can you please come on camera with me and just say that I can't be on a show where it looks like I'm trying to make black women look bad. Can't do it. They then bring out this other producer named Latoya, who is a black woman, to make sure they don't look like a bunch of white people behind the scenes pulling the strings, and that there's actually black people back there. And they say that they really thought it was an experience that Tamar would enjoy, but clearly it was a miscommunication. And so they get Tamar back on camera. She's saying, I don't think you, Michael Beck, wants to make black women look bad, but I'm not a violent person. I don't want to fight. I'm not trying to fight my sisters. I'm not trying to fight the girls from the real. I'm only trying to fight the devil. And ain't all black women ain't all angry. And that's not all we want to do is fight and whatnot. I really thought she took this out of proportion, but she had a point to make, and it seems to me that she felt that the network was trying to push a negative of angry black women, but I really don't think that this was the case in this area, even though often it seems to be. So, and then she makes a statement about, have you ever seen her fight or cuss somebody out? And I'm kind of thinking like, I need some context to that, because they were like, no, they've never seen her do that. And I'm like, I've watched Tamar cuss the dog out of people, but I don't know, maybe they're talking about new Tamar. And in watching Tamar now, she does seem different because she would go at it with Vince, just like constantly fighting with her sisters and whatnot. And in having these discussions with Vince, she seems a whole lot calmer, a whole lot more able to communicate her point without doing all the extras that we're used to from seeing Tamar. So I see some growth in her. I find it really interesting to see how she's progressed. And, you know, for her point was there's always another way to do it. We don't have to do things like that. I'm an artist, we can put it in my artistry. And in that way, I do agree with her. Tamar is very entertaining. She says, Tamar Epstein Braxton is entertaining, okay? And it's true, she's extremely entertaining. So we'll see how they're able to incorporate her artistry, which she doesn't seem to want to do, into this process. But yeah, that's where the episode went off. But like, tell me what you thought about David and his ways, and if this is really the precursor to the current situation that they're in. How would you think about what Vince is going through in this situation and how Tamar is handling everything? Thanks so much for watching. Bye.